SOC Analyst from Alert to Response. Welcome back to the channel. If you have ever wondered what actually happens on the other side of a cybersecurity alert, who reads it, who decides if it's real, and who stops the attack, this is the video for you. Over the next 60 minutes, we are walking through the complete career of a SOC Analyst start to finish. What is SOC? Let's start with the basics. SOC stands for Security Operations Center. Think of it as the organization's centralized defense hub, the nerve center where every log, every alert, and every piece of network traffic gets watched. A SOC never sleeps, staffed 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, because attackers don't work 9 to 5 and neither can defenders. The mission is simple to say and hard to do. Detect threats, contain them before they spread, and report on what happened. Role of the SOC analyst. So where does the analyst fit into all of this? SOC analyst is the person actually watching the live telemetry minute by minute. Their real skill isn't just staring at a screen, it's separating signal from noise. Because on any given day, a SOC can generate thousands of alerts and most of them are nothing. The analyst is the first responder, the one who decides in seconds whether something is a false alarm or the opening move of a real attack. SOC workflow diagram. Every single thing a SOC analyst does can be boiled down to one core loop, and you're going to see this loop over and over again in this video. Detect, analyze, respond, report. First, you detect an anomaly through a tool. Then you analyze it to understand what it actually is. Then you respond, containing or escalating the threat. And finally, you report documenting what happened so the organization learns from it. Everything else we cover today is really just filling in the details of these four steps. Transition. Now that we understand what a SOC is and what the analyst mission looks like, let's get into the actual day-to-day job. Up next, the core responsibilities of a SOC analyst. Section 2, core responsibilities. The first core responsibility is monitoring. Analysts spend a huge part of their shift watching a live event stream inside a SIEM, a security information and event management platform. Picture a dashboard scrolling in real time. At 10:41 a.m., 12 failed login attempts in a row, flagged medium. 19 seconds later, outbound traffic to a known bad IP address that one's high. 21 seconds after that, a brand new admin account gets created out of nowhere, also high. This is the raw material of the job, continuous live, and it never really stops. Investigating alerts, but an alert firing is just the beginning, not the end. The next responsibility is investigation. When an alert fires, the analyst pulls context around it. What user, what host, what time, what else happened nearby. Then they validate, does the evidence actually support that something bad happened? And that investigation always ends in one of two outcomes: a true positive, a real threat that needs action, or a false positive, noise that gets closed out. Turning a raw, ambiguous alert into a validated finding is one of the most valuable skills a Tier 1 analyst can build. Escalation to Tier 2. Not every alert stays with Tier 1. When a threat exceeds the scope of what a Tier 1 analyst can resolve, think advanced malware, a suspected active intrusion, anything requiring deeper forensics, it gets escalated. Tier 1 hands off to Tier 2, and if it's serious enough, Tier 2 hands off to Tier 3. The most senior incident responders and threat hunters in the SOC. Knowing when to escalate and escalating with clean, complete documentation is just as important as catching the threat in the first. Documenting incidents. Every investigation has to leave a paper trail. Analysts log their findings into a case management system, creating a case, attaching evidence like packet captures and log excerpts, and setting the case status to open. This isn't busy work, it's what lets Tier 2 pick up exactly where Tier 1 left off. What feeds compliance audits later, and what turns a one off investigation into institutional knowledge the whole team can search. Daily task checklist. So let's recap the daily rhythm of a Tier 1 SOC analyst in one checklist. Review overnight alerts that came in while you were off shift. Triage new items landing in the queue. Update the notes on any cases still open and hand off to the next shift so nothing falls through the cracks. That loop repeats shift after shift. It's the backbone of everything a SOC does. Tools and technologies, section 3, SIEM platforms. Let's talk tools, starting with this SIEM, the platform an analyst lives in for most of their shift. Splunk is one of the most widely used, built around its own search language called SPL. Microsoft Sentinel is the cloud native option, built for Azure environments and queried with KQL. IBM QRadar takes a rules and offenses approach, correlating events into a single prioritized case. And Elastic Security offers an open source friendly detection rule engine. Different organizations standardize on different platforms, but the underlying job, searching, correlating, and alerting on log data, is the same across all of them. EDR or XDR. Next up, endpoint detection and response, or EDR, and its bigger sibling, XDR. These tools live directly on laptops and servers, giving analysts visibility into what's actually running. CrowdStrike Falcon is known for its process tree view, letting you visually trace how one process spawned another. Sentinel-1 can autonomously roll back a machine to before an infection happened. Cortex SDR correlates signals across multiple layers, network, endpoint, cloud into one view. And Microsoft Defender for Endpoint plugs natively into Windows telemetry. If the SIEM tells you something happened, ADR tells you exactly what happened on that machine. EDR or XDR, endpoint detection and response, or EDR, and its bigger sibling XDR. Sorry, I covered this on two SOAR platforms. Then there's SOAR, security orchestration, automation, and response. This is where a lot of repetitive work gets automated. An alert comes in, a playbook runs automatically. The system auto contains the obvious stuff like disabling a compromised account, and then an analyst reviews what the automation did. Splunk SOAR, Cortex X SOAR, and Tines are common platforms here. The goal isn't to replace the analyst, it's to remove the repetitive 15 steps so the analyst can spend their time on judgment calls, not clicking the same buttons every time. Let the intel lookup. Alerts don't come with context about who's attacking you. That's where threat intelligence platforms come in. MISP is a widely used platform for sharing indicator of compromise feeds across organizations. Recorded future adds risk scoring, telling you how dangerous a given IP or domain actually is. Anomaly matches activity against known threat models. Enriching an alert with this kind of external context is often turns what if often what turns some IP address into this is a known command and control server tied to a specific threat actor. Digital forensics tool. When an incident is serious enough, it moves into deep forensic investigation. Volatility is the standard for memory analysis, pulling live processes and artifacts out of a RAM capture. Autopsy handles disk image review, reconstructing what happened on a compromised hard drive, and Velociraptor enables live endpoint forensics at scale, letting responders query hundreds of machines at once. These are the tools Tier 2 and Tier 3 reach for once Tier 1 has escalated something real. Network monitoring. On the network side, analysts work directly with packet level tools. Isha captures live traffic straight from the command line. Here we are filtering for TCP port 443. Zeek reads a capture file and generates rich structured logs of every connection. And Suricata does the same, but adds intrusion detection rule matching on top. A CM alert says suspicious outbound connection. These are the tools you use to see exactly what was inside that connection. Case management. Finally, everything an analyst does needs a home. That's case management. Jira is common for ticket and workflow tracking, especially in tech forward organizations. ServiceNow is the enterprise standard for IT service management and SecOps. often tying security cases directly into broader IT processes. Whichever platform is used, this is where every investigation gets tracked from open to closed. Methods and procedures. Now let's zoom out and look at the core triage workflow analysts run every single shift. It starts with an alert that moves into investigation, where the analyst gathers context and evidence. If it's confirmed real, it escalates to the appropriate tier. And finally, there's response, containing, remediating, and closing the loop. This four-step flow, alert, investigation, escalation, response, is the engine underneath almost everything we have talked about so far. Once this becomes muscle memory, everything else in the job gets faster. Threat hunting basics. Beyond reacting to alerts, experience analysts also threat hunt, proactively looking for attackers before an alert ever fires. It starts with forming a hypothesis. For example, what if an attacker is using PowerShell to move laterally in our environment? From there, you query historical telemetry to test that hypothesis, pivot on anything anomalous you find, and either confirm there is a real threat or disprove the hypothesis and move to the next one. Threat hunting is what separates a SOC that only reacts from one that actually gets ahead of attackers. Mithra attack mapping. To make sense of what an attacker is actually doing, analysts map activity to the Maitre attack framework, a shared vocabulary for adversary behavior. Initial access might look like a phishing email. Execution could be a malicious PowerShell script running. Persistence often shows up as a new registry run key, letting malware survive as a reboot. And exfiltration happens over what's called a command and control or C channel. Instead of describing an attack in vague terms, ATT and CA lets analysts say exactly which tactic and technique they are seeing, and that precision is what good incident reports are built on. NIST, CSF, and ISO 27001. SOC work doesn't happen in a vacuum. It feeds directly into government frameworks. And this cybersecurity framework breaks security into five functions: identify, protect, detect, respond, and recover. ISO 27001 provides the broader Information Security Management System or ISMS that an entire organization operates under, and the evidence of a SOC generates. Logs, cases, timelines is exactly what feeds compliance audits against both of these standards. Understanding this connection is what helps analysts see how their day-to-day work supports the bigger security picture. Escalation flow chart. Let's bring it all together with one more look at that core flow: alert, investigation, escalation, response. By now, you have seen how a CM generates the alert, how tools like EDR and threat intel enrich the investigation, how severity and Maitri mapping guide the escalation decision, and how SOAR and manual remediation drive the response. That's complete tier 1 picture. In part 2, we are going a level deeper, live tool demos, tech logging, remediation, and where this career path can actually take you there. Section 5, testing and analysis. Welcome back. This is part 2, and this picks up right where we left off at the 30-minute mark. Let's get hands on, starting with a live Splunk query. The search index is equal to firewall action is equal to blocked. To pull every blocked connection the firewall has locked, then we pipe that into stats count by src underscore IP, counting the results by source IP address. Finally, sort count by head 10 gives us the 10 most active blocked sources. In three lines of SPL, we have got from these raw firewall noise to these are your top offenders. That's the kind of query an analyst runs dozens of times a shift. Sentinel KQL demo. Now the same idea, but in Microsoft Sentinel using KQL. We start from the sign-in logs table, filter with where result type is equal to 0 to isolate fail sign-ins, then summarize with fails is equal to count by user principal name. In seconds, this surfaces which accounts are seeing repeated failed logins, a classic early indicator of either a brute force attempt or a user who just forgot their password. Knowing which one it is comes down to volume, pattern, and source, exactly what the analyst investigates next. EDR investigation demo. Let's walk through an EDR driven investigation. It starts with a suspicious process flagged by the endpoint agent. The analyst pulls up the process tree to see exactly what spanned what. Is this a legitimate application or does it trace back to a phishing email attachment? If it looks malicious, the next move is to isolate the host, cutting it off from network so nothing can spread. And if needed, the analyst kills the process directly. This four-step flow, suspicious process, process tree, isolate host, kill process, is the standard playbook for a compromised endpoint. Wireshark packet analysis. Sometimes the investigation goes all the way down to packet level. Here's a snippet of a live capture in Wireshark packet 142. A TLS connection going out from 10.0.0.15 to 45.9.12.4. 12 milliseconds later, packet 143 shows the response coming back. On the surface, this looks like ordinary encrypted traffic, but the destination IP is the real story, which brings us to the next step, checking exactly who that IP address belongs to. Threat Intel enrichment demo, we take that IP address 45.9.12.4 and run it through a threat intelligence lookup. The result comes back ugly. Known command and control infrastructure, a malicious reputation score of 94 out of 100 and first seen just 14 days ago, meaning this is active reason infrastructure, not some state-old indicator. That one lookup just turned a routine packet capture into a confirmed compromise. This is threat intel enrichment doing exactly what it's designed to do. Defect logging and remediation. Section 6, defect logging and remediation. Logging in Jira ServiceNow. Once a threat is confirmed, has to be formally logged. In the case management system, the analyst creates a ticket under the SOC project. So set its type to security incident and assigns it to the tier 2 queue for deeper handling. The step matters more than it might seem. An unlocked incident is, for all practical purposes, an incident that never happened as far as the organization records are considered concerned. Logging in Jira or ServiceNow, once a threat is confirmed, it has to be formally logged. The case management system, the analyst creates a ticket under the SOC project, sets its type to security incident, and assigns it to try to for deeper hardening. Sorry, I'll go to the next slides. Defect categories. Not every incident looks the same. So let's classify what we are dealing with. A misconfiguration might be something like an open, publicly accessible S3 bucket. Malware means an actual endpoint infection. Phishing typically results in credential harvesting. An insider threat covers cases of data exfiltration by someone who already had legitimate access. Correctly categorizing the defect shapes everything that happens next. Defect categories call for very different remediation steps. Severity levels. Alongside category, every incident gets a severity rating, and this is what drives urgency. Critical means an active ongoing breach, drop everything. High means confirmed malicious activity, but contained for now. Medium is suspicious but unconfirmed, worth watching closely. And low is purely informational. Getting severity right is a balancing act. Rate everything critical and you burn out the team with false urgency. Rate a real breach as low and you miss your window to respond. Remediation strategies. With the incident logged and rated, it's time to actually fix the problem. That might mean patching the vulnerable system that let the attacker in, blocking the malicious IP or domain at the firewall, resetting any compromised credentials so stolen passwords become useless. Or in the worst cases, fully rebuilding any infected endpoint from a clean image rather than trying to clean it in. Which of these you reach for depends directly on the category and severity we just covered. Lifecycle reduction to closure. Let's zoom out and see the entire incident lifecycle animated end to end. Detect where the CM or EDR first flags the anomaly. Log where it becomes a formal case. Remediate where the fix actually happens. Retest where the analyst confirms the fix actually worked and threat is truly gone. And close where the case is formally shut. Skipping that retest step is one of the most common mistake in a SOC. Closing a case before verifying the fix held is how the same incident comes back a month later. Career path. Let's shift gears and talk about what this job actually looks like day to day and where it can take you. A typical shift starts with a handoff brief from the what's open, what's still being watched. From there, it's monitoring and triaging the queue for the bulk of the shift. And it wraps up with writing a shift report so the next team starts with full context instead of a blank slate. Cross team collaboration. SOC doesn't work in isolation unless regularly collaborate with ERC team for compliance context, making sure incidents are handled in a way that satisfies regulatory requirements. With IT operations for actual system remediation, since the SOC identifies the problem, but IT often executes the fix, and with the threat intel team who provide broader adversary context behind what the SOC is on the ground. Career progression. So where does this career actually go? Most analysts start at tier 1 handling frontline monitoring and triage. From there, tier 2 takes on deeper investigation and escalated cases. Tier 3 handles advanced threat hunting and incidents response. And from there, the path opens up towards SOC manager, leading the team itself. Each step means more autonomy, more complex cases, and more responsibility for the team's overall detection certifications. If you're building towards this career, here are the certifications that carry real weight. CompTIA Security Plus is standard entry level credential. CompTIA CISA Plus goes deeper into analyst specific skills. Splunk offers its own certified user and certified admin tracks if that's the CM you're working with. And on the more advanced end, GIAC's GIA Plan GCI head certifications are highly respected for intrusion analysis and incident handling specifically. Section 8 cap. Let's bring everything together. We have covered the skills, separating signal from noise, validating alerts, threat hunting, the tools, CMs, ER, SOAR, threat intel platforms, forensics, and case management. The workflows detect, analyze, respond, report, and the full incident lifecycle from detection through closure. And the responsibilities monitoring, investigating, escalating, documenting, and remediating. That's the complete picture of what a SOC analyst actually does. At the end of the day, the jobs comes down to two things: defense and compliance. The shield represents what analysts are actually protecting, the organization, system, data, and people. The certificate represents the trust and accountability that comes with doing it right, proving with evidence that the SOC got it, handled it, and closed it out correctly. Call to action. If this gave you a clear picture of what a SOC analyst actually does day to day, hit subscribe, and we are covering more cybersecurity career tutorials just like this one. Drop a comment if you want a deep dive into the certification we mentioned. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next one.